Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, I'm outside in front of my house. I'm actually dry vaping some pipe tobacco, doing some experimental stuff. I have a dry herb vaporizer, and I'm just kind of testing it because the original reason why I got one was to vape pipe tobacco. Just totally experimental. It's interesting. It's kind of in between smoking and vaping. You're not vaping a liquid as most people are used to. You're actually vaping a solid leaf, you know, different types of herbs and stuff like that. But anyway, I have some black cordial here, and this is put out by King Street Emporium, which was sent to me. Really good stuff. And I'm using a Hebe Titan, which is the vaporizer. Really interesting. But it's my first time ever trying it. I came outside because it's not really vaping like how you guys know vaping, so I didn't want to do it inside. It's kind of like smoking a pipe or a cigar or something. There is actual tobacco in the air and stuff, so I didn't want to stink up the house. But I tried vaping it at like 390 degrees, and it was too hot in the mouth, so I dropped down to like 350, and it's still a little too hot. I think it's just because the tobacco is still moist. I mean, this would be great in a pipe. It's not wet, it's just moist. In this particular case, vaping it, I think it really needs to be a lot drier, which brings me to the idea of salvaging, you know, dried out tobacco. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. I don't know why I'm even talking about it, just because that's why I'm out here. Because it's cold as balls out here, but I wanted to do it outside. So anyway, what this video is about, and by the way, you guys can't see me all that well. It's okay. You don't really need to see my face all that well. It is me. I mean, see, you know that face. But anyway, this is just a little vlog type video talking about Eric Frein. The guy's finally caught. God, it's been, I don't even know how many days, 48 days, something like that. Ridiculous. That's a long time to be looking for a dude. Made it to America's Top 10, you know, fugitive, or America's Top 10 wanted list as a major fugitive of the law. If you don't know this story, it is nationwide. But he basically shot one cop outside of the state troopers building and wounded another officer. It's extremely tragic. I made a video talking about this, giving some information. When it happened, it really is a shock because it's literally not even 10 miles from me. It's somewhere where I pass all the time for many, many years. I mean, it's right there. So this whole story really hit home, and it was kind of crazy. Like the first day he's gone, and it's like, oh man, this fugitive's on the loose, and it's scary. And the second day goes by, and you're like, wow, they didn't catch him yet. The third day, the first week, the second week, you're like, what the hell's going on? Why can't they get this guy? And of course, the news stories go on and on about how he's very much into survival, and he does war reenactments and stuff like that. So as one week after another go by, and all this time, it continues to get longer and longer throughout this manhunt. They start finding evidence, like he's been researching how manhunts are operated, and you know, and police you know, procedures and stuff like that. So you start to get this idea that, you know what, this wasn't something this guy did on a whim. He really planned for this. Now, he has a hatred for police, and he was planning this for a very long time. So, you know, of course I was glued to this. So was my family. You know, just watching this story day in and day out, hoping for to hear something about it. You know, as evidence started being collected, like they found dirty diapers in his campsite and all this other crap, and his Serbian cigarettes and blah blah blah. It was scary, but it was almost annoying that police couldn't find this guy. You know, I understand. I mean, I live in the woods, and I'm not kidding when I say there's hundreds and hundreds of miles of woods around here, you know. Where the police barracks was that he killed these cops, across the street, thick, dense woods for miles and miles and miles, all this state land everywhere. So, I mean, it's not an easy task for the cops just to pop in and find him. Obviously very well planned, very trained in his idea of what he was going to do. But they found, you know, early on, you know, journal pages at his campsite, basically saying that he screwed up. He was writing about what happened, and I'm not going to quote it, but you can find all this information online, all the details, by the way. But he basically was saying that, you know, there was a roadblock right away, which he wasn't planning on happening, and so whatever his original plan was kind of got foiled. and he was just on the loose, on a foot race, you know, him against the cops. Now, since this thing first started, there was over 1,000 different officers from all different agencies. I mean, we're in the tri-state area, so you got New York cops, Pennsylvania cops, New Jersey cops, you got the DEA, the FBI, you know, all kinds of law enforcement looking for this dude. But the problem was that even after week by week going by, it wasn't like a state of emergency. So like SWAT teams and you know, maybe like Navy SEALs, stuff like that, there were certain things that couldn't be used, you know what I mean? Like in my mind, I was thinking, why don't they just get some military folks in here and this will be over in a day, you know? Unfortunately, you know, a lot of these cops, they're not trained to be hiking through the woods looking, you know, for a guy during a manhunt. They just don't have that kind of extensive training. You need, you know, the same guys that goes over to Afghanistan, you know, the same people that find all these terrorists everywhere. You know, our local troopers aren't trained for this. But due to technicalities, I mean, they had accessibility to military vehicles and gear and all kinds of stuff like that, but they weren't allowed to use military personnel. So it was a weird technicality. So I think this whole thing ran longer than it really should have. To give you some of the numbers here, I actually wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it. It cost over $10 million to find this guy. Okay. Now to give you a perspective, the 2014 to 2015 state police budget, okay, this is for Pennsylvania. Their entire budget for a whole year is $221 million. So that's like 7% of their budget for the whole year was spent on this one guy. But that's how important it was. I mean, obviously, when a police officer goes down, you know, fellow brethren, you know, they don't let that just slide. They were going to find this guy no matter what. But yeah, it was costing something like $1 million a week, and it's just crazy. They had over 300 different officers every single day running 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, you know, never stopped. I remember when I went to the store, Christine and I, we saw a sign there, and they were welcoming donations to the troopers. People were buying food, and then, I mean, the support that the locals have here, it was absolutely amazing. There was basket after basket, or cart after cart after cart of just supplies. And Christine and I bought a bunch of loaves of bread for them. They had like a list of things they were looking for donations, like energy drinks, bread, meats, stuff like that. They have sandwiches, coffee, all kinds of stuff just to keep these officers going day in and day out. And a lot of these guys got, you know, overtime and double pay. I mean, they're way out of their normal working hours in the efforts to find this guy. So it was an extensive search. It was a really long search, very tiring. You saw police reports, you know, every day on these people in the local town where he was from that, you know, were restricted to their home. They couldn't leave their house. They couldn't get home if they were already out. It was very difficult for the local people, and life changed. It was really, really weird there for a while. When I'm riding on the highway up here, there's always a police presence. You'll see a squad car every now and then just riding on the road with you, you know. When you're on the highway by me, you know, there's little kind of little cuts. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, there's turns off of the highway, you know, through center lanes. And there would always be certain spots where cops would sit. And obviously, you know, if you were speeding, they'd pull out and pull you over. I didn't see a cop this entire time. For more than a month, I didn't see one police officer that were actively being police officers for the public. You know, all the cops in the entire area, all the resources and efforts were towards finding this guy not doing their regular day-to-day jobs. So, like, what I would see early on when the manhunt was more local to me, like literally in my backyard, there were squad cars everywhere. There was troopers with all different types of plates, all different vehicles. You saw, you know, big SWAT vehicles and military vehicles and stuff on the side of the road. It was eerie. I was driving to my parents with Christina, probably on day 4 or 5 of the search. And as we're driving the highway's, you know, the whole slow lane's blocked off. It's all coned off. And squad car after squad car after squad car. And I mean, there's probably 60, 70 different vehicles here. And you see hundreds and hundreds of cops full armor, helmets, the whole deal, AR-15s loaded up completely, all pointing in the woods, and you're just waiting as I'm driving. I'm not even paying attention. I almost went off the road. I'm just like in awe of this scene. It feels like you know, I'm in battle somewhere. It's just, it's not normal. It's not a day-to-day sight. When he was on the loose, it was a scary time because I didn't know what was going on. There was one point where my shed door, I have a very small metal shed, and the door was completely pushed in. And I ended up calling the cops to come check in there to see what was going on, because I don't know why it would be pushed off the hinge like it was. I mean, it was mangled. If I took a picture, you guys would be like, what the hell happened there? And honestly, I call my local police, and they're here in about 2 seconds. I have to say, where I live, the response time is second to none. That could be a whole different video. But anyway, they were here, they checked it out, and it was a black bear that pushed its way into my shed. But there was a moment there where I really thought, like, what if it's this guy, you know? It was a scary situation living in those conditions and stuff, and just not knowing he could have been anywhere. Now, in hindsight, sorry for the wind. I'm sure it's noisy here. It's freezing out here, and it's extremely windy. But anyway, this whole time, everyone's thinking he's like, you know, huddled up into a ball in the middle of the woods, and apparently he was in and out of abandoned buildings and hunting cabins, and eventually he was caught by an airstrip or something in a, you know, plane hangar. He actually wasn't in the hangar. He was out like in the field or something. He did go in quietly. The mug shots, his nose is pretty bashed in. It kind of looked like the arresting officer maybe gave him the butt of his rifle. But, you know, everyone swears, the police swear that he had those injuries before they arrested him. And apparently they said that what he was telling them, what happened this whole time when he was trekking through the woods, that's where supposedly he got hurt and broke his nose or whatever happened to him. And it's weird because when they arrested him, he had a completely different facial hairstyle. You can tell he was shaving. You could tell he had access to water. He lost a lot of weight, but he was alive, you know. So he definitely had food caches stashed in whatever hunting cabins he went to. He was able to find some food and stuff. So he's been surviving just fine. But it wasn't out in the middle of the woods. Whatever training this guy has, he wasn't really using it or had no need to use it. He walked a hell of a long way, though. I'll say that. He was definitely physically fit. When they found him, he was 35 miles away from the barracks where he shot those cops. You know, walking 35 miles through dense woods like that is a hell of a feat. But, you know, overall, he's a coward. It's really sad that he had a lot of support. You know, when you go online, there's a lot of people who hate cops, and they didn't see this much more than, like, you know, payback for police brutality and for shootings that were whatever. You know what? I see it differently. I don't see this guy as a hero. I see him as a pussy coward. You know, he didn't do an old Western, you know, 6-gun draw on a cop. He sat in the woods, and he basically sniped these guys in between their shifts. You know, he was a complete coward, and he shouldn't be credited for anything other than, you know, anyone could have done this. A 10-year-old could have done what he did. The only difference is he lasted longer than most people as far as running through the woods with a bunch of cops chasing him. But, I mean, I do think it's sad when people idolize people like him, because he shouldn't get any credit for anything. What he did was extremely cowardly. It was, you know, it was a horrible act. You know, unfortunately, that police officer died. I didn't know that police officer personally. I recognize him because he's in my area, but he obviously affected that family. He had 2 kids, and now they don't have a father just because of this douchebag. But anyway, I want to read these are the actual charges, okay, because I saw they did the conference very soon after they caught him. They won't say what he's been talking about and what he's been telling them. I'm sure we'll find it out later, but he is cooperating apparently. Here's his charges. He's being charged with murder in the 1st degree, homicide of a law enforcement officer, attempted murder in the 1st degree, attempted homicide of a law enforcement officer, assault of a law enforcement officer, possession of weapons of mass destruction because he had pipe bombs, which they not only found in the woods, but when they arrested him, they found the rifle. It was a 308 with a scope on it. They did find more pipe bombs, all right, so they did have a lot of evidence against him, plus his journal saying what he did. I'm fairly certain the ballistics on the 308 rifle they found in his possession when he was arrested will match up with the rounds that were in the officers. He's also being charged with discharging a firearm in an occupied structure, possession of an instrument of crime, and reckless endangerment. Just, it's crazy. This whole little journey has been absolutely nuts. It did hit home because it literally happened at home for me. A lot of people are following this in different states and stuff, and it was obviously, a nationwide story, but being so local and seeing it firsthand, it was kind of scary, It just makes you think. You never really know, what's going on and or what's possible. I can say that I don't think that he had any intentions of dying. He didn't have a suicide mission, because when they eventually caught him, he obviously could have ran. He would have been shot down, I'm sure. He didn't have a gun on him, on his person when they arrested him. So he obviously has some kind of a master plan. I don't know if maybe he got scared in the end, or didn't have a plan of how it was supposed to end. Maybe he thought he would have died sooner. I don't really know. I'm kind of anxiously awaiting his statements to be made public, and to hear what he has to say. Why he really did this, what his message is, what his intent was. It's interesting. I'm following this story quite closely, so stay tuned for more information. I'm not going to make any more videos about this. I just wanted to say I'm very happy that he was caught, and I wanted to say thank you to every officer that was involved. It was very extensive, but in the end of the day, they got it done. So, good for them. I'm glad he's not just, still out there somewhere. It happened the day he got arrested, I think it was the day before Halloween. Yeah, Halloween Eve. Which was cool because all the kids were able to go out and trick-or-treat like normal. They didn't have to worry about, some crazy guy in the loose. But anyway, that's all. That's my update on Eric Frein. What a douchebag. So, that's all. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Now that he's caught, I can enjoy the rest of mine. I'll see you soon. Take care.